Hi, and welcome to Astro Bites for Sunday, the 15th of September, 2024. So, let's see what we have going on astrologically for today, and then the second half of the video will be our word for the day, and it is a very positive, upbeat word for today because last week was quite intense and dark and psychological, a bit scorpionic really. I should have saved it for Scorpio season. Anyway, let's go on with the astrology today because actually we have a beautiful, beautiful aspect between Venus in Libra, Venus rules Libra, and Jupiter in Gemini. And it's a trine, which is a very positive, very helpful aspect. The moon today is an Aquarius, and so it's working its way through this wonderful high vibration community-based sign, and then it'll prepare itself for the full moon partial lunar eclipse we have on Wednesday the 18th or Tuesday the 17th, depending on your location on the planet. But let's start off with this lovely trine from Venus in Libra to Jupiter in Gemini. Okay, so Venus, as we know, is about the feminine. It's the divine feminine. It's also about how we feel about ourselves in terms of our self-esteem, our self-worth. It can also be about relationship, and it can be about love. It's certainly a loving planet, and the goddess Venus was certainly loving, but you know, she did have a dark side too. If you remember, in her guise in Greek mythology as Aphrodite, she could be quite tough and almost, one could say, cruel. If you think about how she made Psyche, who was in love with her son Eros, go through all sorts of trials and tribulations to finally satisfy her enough that she was good enough to marry her son. But that's a long story, and it's not for today. But just to give you a flavor that Venus has a shadow, we can actually say every single planet has a shadow. And if you remember, that was one of the words we had last week. But today, Venus's shadow is nowhere to be seen and actually being complementary to this wonderful trine energy from Libra that links her beautifully to Jupiter, our planet of optimism, opportunity, luck, good fortune, expansion. Jupiter's in Gemini. Jupiter rules Sagittarius. Jupiter is also about truth. But because Jupiter is in Gemini, I feel this is something to do with relationships and communication. Because it's a trine and Venus is in Libra, Libra can be about relating and relationship, harmony and balance. It may well be that there has been a period where there has not been, or maybe you've been waiting to connect with someone and you can't get hold of them. And this trine, as it kind of builds through Saturday and builds through Sunday, I'm recording this on Saturday, that's why I say Saturday, and builds through Sunday and will still be around on Monday and Tuesday, you will have this likelihood that things will free up with communication with dear ones, loved ones, significant people in your life. The energy will free up. so that good communication can flow and it can be very fortunate and beneficial for both of you. So that can't be bad, can it? That's good news. Now, you might have noticed you can hear some background noise today. In fact, some of you might get a glimpse of Chanticleer or the wonderful ducks that we have living in the wonderful farm next door. Because today it's cool enough in Gozo to have the windows open. And, it's such a relief to get some air in. And you know what? This chart is a bit like that. There's something quite broad, there's a breadth to it. It feels airy. We also have this forming what is known as a kite configuration, which is actually going to be exact when we have the full moon partial lunar eclipse. The kite, which I think lifts us up and could also be symbolic of news coming in from a distance, floating up high on the clouds. The sun is still in Virgo. By next Sunday, it moves into Libra with the autumn equinox. But I will talk about that later in the week and nearer the time. So this kite formation is forming between the sun in Virgo, where, there is this kind of propensity to detail and sometimes feeling a little bit anxious and worrying about things, to Uranus that's retrograde in Taurus. And of course, Uranus is about the unexpected and surprise, freedom of speech. I think this links in beautifully with that Venus trine Jupiter that is saying there can be communication around at the moment where one feels one can speak freely and that the truth can be discussed. Uranus in turn, of course, is making a sextile to Neptune that is retrograde in Pisces. And in turn, Neptune is making a sextile to Pluto retrograde in that anaretic, powerful trigger point degree of Capricorn. And in turn, the sun in Virgo forms the trine to Pluto to lift us up with this kite formation. So maybe you can get a sense that what I'm seeing is positive energy today. It feels as if news that has been kept hidden comes out. Now that could be on the world stage because the event chart I'm looking at shows Mercury in Virgo, the sign it rules. It also rules Gemini. Mercury is all about communication, but it's in the 12th house. So there's something hidden. There's something that hasn't come out. And that could come out, it could be on the news, it could be on a personal level. And Mercury is moving towards an opposition with Saturn, which is retrograde in Pisces, and that comes later this week. But Saturn is on the descendant of this chart. So there is something about the need to look at how one moves forward with others, relationships, the other, friends, friend groups, whether one wants in or out, because Saturn can be two sides of that same coin. Where do we want to go with it? Or are we saying, no, it's not for me? So that energy is building, and it'll be very interesting to see what unfolds as it gets closer to its opposition to Mercury in Virgo. So Uranus also, of course, is trining retrograde Pluto in Capricorn. All sorts of unexpected surprises, twists and turns can come out today. I'm not sure this is going to be a particularly quiet Sunday. There's also, but I'm going to talk about this another day, a growing T-square between Mars in Cancer, Mars, our planet of action and energy, and both the North and the South Node, what we bring in and the direction we want to go in. But I'm going to talk about that another time. But I just want to say, in brief, the energy is constructive, positive today. It's a good day for communication. So if it's been difficult to talk to your nearest and dearest, family, friends, loved ones, business colleagues even, then I know it's a Sunday, but maybe you should just give them a shout and say hi. Okay, let's move on to our word for the day. Because as you know, last week we had some quite deep, dark dive psychological words to really make you think. I'm going to give you an easy time this week, a little bit of rest for the brain, because let's face it, we've got this partial lunar eclipse coming up on Wednesday. We want to be prepared for that. So the word I chose for today, I think, is a word that we rarely use, but it embodies a perfect state of joy, happiness, contentment, complete peace and harmony. Can you think what that word might be? It's bliss. And you know, it isn't a word we use lightly. You know, we don't necessarily say, oh, this was a blissful meeting I had today. We might say it was a good meeting. It was very productive. I was very happy with it. But we don't go into a state of bliss about it. Well, normally we don't. And this serene state that we can have if we're sort of, say we're standing at the top of a cliff or a mountain, looking at a beautiful scenery of mountains and valleys and rivers, and we perhaps sit on a part where we can sit and just enjoy the energy. That moment of bliss brings us totally into the present. And when we are in that state of bliss, nothing in the world disturbs us, concerns us, or worries us, because we are totally in the present when we're in a state of bliss. We all have our own ways of experiencing a state of bliss. You know, philosophically and spiritually, it can be viewed as the highest state of consciousness. It's that state of being that embodies simplicity, purity, and that overwhelming sense of gratitude, fulfillment, and that feeling of being totally at one with the universe, the divine, with God, whatever your name is that you assign to the all of the all. It's that contentment and knowing and oneness, that state of bliss. If you do one thing today that could be really good for you, why don't you see if you can connect with that feeling in you, that state of bliss? If you can't go somewhere where you could say look at a beautiful piece of scenery, or sit somewhere where you really can feel at one with the elements and the sun and the wind and clouds, or even rain. If you can't do that, then it is like that highest state of meditation. Then try and see if you can just close your eyes, be in the moment, know that nothing can disturb you, can spoil this moment of being totally in the present. As Eckhart Tolle says, it really is the power of now. And the power of now is that state of bliss. And it shows that if we can stay in that moment of now all the time, then ultimately we can live in a permanent state of bliss and learn to work with the energies of our lives and the events that happen. So that's our word for the day. So I didn't think this one was going to be very long, but 16 minutes and counting. So thank you so much for joining me to do the Astrobite for the day and the word for the day. Remember to join me tonight for my live stream for the month ahead. No, it isn't. Oh, God. It's the week ahead. You see, I dropped out of that state of bliss and everything went out the window. So remember to join me for our live stream tonight. And we always have interesting, diverse conversations and interactions. So I will look at the energy, and of course the highlight of tonight's theme will be the partial lunar eclipse full moon in Pisces, Tuesday, Wednesday. So tune in for that. Go to my YouTube channel, and if you go there, you just click on the live stream option, and you'll see it sitting there saying coming up later. Switch on notifications and it will notify you in your time zone when it's ready. So please remember to like, comment and subscribe. And I'm building a good list of words for our future words of the day. Thank you all for contributing. Remember, keep them coming in, and we'll find the really meaty, good ones and get them out there and see how they affect us. Thank you so much for joining me today. And I look forward to seeing, hopefully, lots of you later. And if you can't join me later, catch it in catch up. And I'll see you tomorrow for another Astro Bite. Bye for now.